Okay. We just got off the phone with the boss, and today is Monday, June 19th, and he said tomorrow, which is Tuesday, June 20th, he wants to fly, just him, with one small bag from Portland International Airport at 6 a.m. to Winnemucca, Nevada. He needs a rental car, and he wants to leave Winnemucca at noon to return to Portland. So that is just, that's a typical. That's about the typical amount of information you might receive from the aircraft owner or passengers or whatever. And I recommend, over the phone, write it down so you have it all, and you might even put it into a document like this that you can add things to or whatever. This kind of gives you the information we're going to work off of here. So with that, we'll go to flightplan.com. Now, there are videos out there on how to set it up, how to register, how to edit aircraft performance, all that stuff. It's kind of beyond the scope of this, so I'm not going to get into it. I'm just going to assume that you can go and find that stuff on your own, set up your account, log in. Bear with me. I created this account just for this video and threw in a sample aircraft type that I am familiar with. So if there's something weird that goes on in here, just bear with me there. I haven't run through it yet. So anyway, you get to this page. You go to Create Flight Plan. IFR. We're going to plan for tomorrow, the 20th. This is the aircraft right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not an actual. I mean, that might be an actual aircraft, but I just made it up. I registered this as a CJ, just a Citation jet. That's what I'm used to. It's a typical, corporate aircraft. Let's go Portland KPDX to Winnemucca KWMC. And we'll hit Create Flight Plan, which brings us to this page. So it kind of gives you the overview. Portland to Winnemucca, you get your time zones here. It's IFR, 351 miles straight line. True course is 144. Possible altitudes, it's a easterly course, so it's going to give you the odd altitudes. This kind of gives you your wind matrix, just some generic numbers. If there's no wind, it's an hour and 14 straight line. If it's 25 knot tailwind, it's an hour and 10 minutes. 25 knot headwind, an hour 19. And that's based off of this true airspeed here, 352, which comes from here. Now, as you notice, if you change altitudes, it's just going to give you kind of a default altitude that would work. It might recommend that, but if you change the altitude, it's going to adjust your speed, your true airspeed there automatically. And that's all stuff you can kind of modify under aircraft performance, which would be down here, edit aircraft performance, but that's beyond the scope of this. So let's just say for this flight, hour and 14 with no wind. We have no idea what the wind is at this point, so we can always come back and adjust this as we need to, but let's just start out with 350. It's just going to be me, pilot, single pilot airplane. That's the date. We don't need to change, don't need to add a co-pilot, don't need to do call sign. Since this is spitting out 366 for true airspeed, that's fine. 0600 for local departure time. We'll get the fuel in a second. I like to just throw in again, we can come back and change this, but just going off of what we have here, we have something to work with, an hour and 14. Okay, so it's IFR, so we need destination to an alternate plus our 45 minutes. Let's just put in 2 hours and 30 minutes. That's might be more than we need, but that's just for now. We can go back and change that. There's me, so the pilot, and one passenger, so 2 souls on board. That's SOB. That doesn't mean son of a bitch. It means souls on board. Alternate, we're going to find that in just a second. This might produce some suggested alternates here. Yeah, I would probably go and try and find your own remarks. If you need ATC to know anything, you can let them know there. Okay, so in terms of routing, down here, once we get this done, depending on your route of flight, if we were going, from Portland to LAX, is a very commonly used route. You're going to see a lot of recent planned routes. You'll see under times issued, it'll say over 10 times issued. It'll have very recent dates. It'll show all kinds of aircraft types, a lot of airliners and stuff. It just so happens that Portland to Winnemucca is not a very popular route. So you're not going to get very many to choose from. It also shows you why the dates are so spread apart. And of course, it's mostly corporate aircraft doing this. But this gives you, this kind of gives you something to choose from if you were looking for a route to choose and you didn't know better. So let's see. For us, what I like to do at this point is I like to go to skyvector.com, which is like a map. You could use ForeFlight as well, but this is nice because it's all on the computer. So this is still in here from before. I cheated, showed you what I was going to do in advance. So once we get to, okay, so that resets everything. Perfect. So aircraft tail number is not important. We just want Portland to Winnemucca. Gives you the straight line right here. Let's see, speed. It doesn't really matter at this point what speed we're going to put in. I'll just put it in 366. 366 at 3 FL 350. So with no wind, this seems to think an hour and 4. Whereas the flightplan.com aircraft profile performance was set up where no wind would show an hour and 14. So, But we're obviously going to use this, the flightplan.com performance. Anyway, let's see. We don't need to put in times or dates on here. This is just for kind of an overview. The reason I do this is because, first of all, in terms of routing, I want to see a big picture. What it might affect us. We're going to ignore this convective guy here. What is this convective segment here? Yeah, just ignore that. What I'm looking for here is pretty much airspace stuff. So notice this giant cluster of MOAs, Juniper and Hart MOAs. We don't want to fly through that. We don't want to file through that because likely we're going to get vectored around it. If we set up our flight plan direct, assuming we're going to get through here, we're going to see the information for fuel required, assuming we can get through this, as well as time en route and all that stuff. But then once we get in the air, ATC could say, hey, we need you to go way around it, and so suddenly we might be short on fuel or whatever. Might delay our passengers' arrival. It's just not good. So what we want to do is plan. I always plan going around these MOAs, and you can look and find the hours that these MOAs are hot or in use on sectionals and various places. But I found that even those can be incorrect. So to be safe, I always plan around them. And once I'm in the air, once we're over here, I might ask ATC, hey, can we get a shortcut? Can we get direct? And they'll either say, yes, you can, or no, MOAs are hot. Just, continue on your filed route. So anyway, at this point, what I want to do is I want to kind of file this flight plan to go around these MOAs. So I'm thinking kind of head further south here through this little alleyway and then cut through. Is probably the way to go. One thing to note coming out of PDX is they're probably going to give you a departure procedure. So PDX, I just know that that's usually they like to give the Cascade 2 on nav departure. I guess just so you have an idea of what we're working with here. If you haven't been into Portland, where is it? Right here. Here's the PDF. This is the diagram for the Portland Airport here. So the Atlantic Aviation, General Aviation terminals right here, FBO. Generally, what happens if winds are out of the west, we're taking off to a right. If the winds are out of the east, we're taxing along over here to 10 left and taking off that way. So since they're probably going to be we'll assume they're using the Cascade 2 departure, be taken off either east or west. It all brings you down to the southeast. Since we are headed that way anyways, Poly would be a good transition to use. So Cascade 2 poly transition. And if you go back over here to these other recent planned routes, that's right here. It shows up right here. So what we can do is just copy it up to here. And from this, we can now, or what we'll do is we'll type in right here. We'll type in poly. Okay, so the whole departure is going to eventually spit us out right here, poly. And then what we can do is zoom in, find some type of nav aid, and you can use the low altitude en route charts here to find different waypoints and things. I just like using the World VFR because it's easier to see things for now. So Lakeview VOR. So we'll go poly to LKV. So now poly LKV, and then we want to follow kind of this alleyway back, continuing down here. So go back to low altitude here. Let's see. This is the HOA. Sorry, HOA. I saw the H and MOA. Anyway, this is the MOA. And I'd probably just go to ducks. We don't have to follow the airway necessarily. We can just, because then we're going to end up doing these little zigzag things. There's no reason for that. We can just go to ducks. DUCCS. If ATC tells us they want us on one of these airways, they'll let us know. But so Lakeview VOR to ducks, and then direct to Winnemucca Airport right here. And so now when we go back to World VFR, we can see the whole route. And that's what it's going to look like roughly. So departure to poly, Lakeview, ducks. And we'll type that in here, space LKV, space DUCCS. Finally, for the alternate, let's look here. Let's see. Now we're gonna be looking at the weather for a second, in a second, at Winnemucca. This kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking at. If you look at the TAF in here, it's pretty much VFR all the way through the duration of the TAF, and we're gonna figure out exactly the conversions from GMT to local time and all that. But this just kind of tells me that, okay, it's 5:30 right now. It's 5:30 p.m. on June 19th. We're planning for a 6 a.m. flight. So in about 12 hours from now is when we're going to be departing. So this just kind of gives me an idea. Hey, is there anything big coming in? No, we're going to get specific with times in a minute. But in terms of just picking out a kind of a ballpark alternate, what do we have here? Battle Mountain is right here, not too far away. We have a 7,300 foot runway. It's 4,500 foot elevation. We have one passenger. That should be fine. One thing I do want to do that I should mention here is we need to kind of figure out, okay, what's going on with fuel. The mission, if you recall, is we're flying one passenger out 6 a.m. to Winnemucca. We're going to hang out there for about 6 hours. Passenger's going to do whatever they got to do there, and then we're going to leave and come back. So what we want to do is, what am I doing? What we want to do is look up the Winnemucca WMC Airport here, see what we got in terms of services at the airport. I like to read the remarks. Well, first, let's just kind of look at the. Where's our diagram? They don't give us a diagram. That's cool. There, we can do that. KWMC airport diagram. Define that. Here's one. Okay. And this one's current. Okay, so here's what we're doing. We got a 7,000 foot runway. Got a 4,800 foot runway. We got an FBO. Let's see here. We definitely want to kind of check out the chart supplement. I can't really pull it up right now. But check out the chart supplement. Make sure your slope, your runway slope, is within the tolerances of within the limitations of your aircraft. Some airports have very sloped runway, which can really affect performance. This one, it doesn't. We can tell it really doesn't because the departure, or this runway 32 is 4303, and on the other end it's 4301. So there's really no slope there, which is kind of nice. And then the runway might slope, but the net slope is pretty much zero. So that's what we're working with. That's the airport. Winnemucca. Let's see here. We've got. Let's see. Full strength payment areas. Blah blah. We don't need that. Mountain Southwest call FBO in the winter months for the runway conditions. Okay, so we got a couple of instrument approaches. That's good to know. I don't know if we'll need them or not, but let's see here. Okay, so what do we have? Airport services, fuel available, 100 low lead, perfect. That's what we need. It's good practice to call the FBO. So down here is a list of the FBOs: Winnemucca Air Service, Jet A, $5.99. That's pretty decent. I'd give them a call. I'd let them know, hey, we're going to be there at if we're leaving at 6, roughly 7 a.m. And let them know. We have one passenger. Ask them about. This would be a good time to ask them about cars. Do you have a courtesy car for the passenger? Do we need a rental car? Do we need to, if there are rental cars, what companies provide that service? You get that information from this FBO here. So give them a call at this point. So okay, that's good. We got Jet A. Depending on, well, we'll get to that. Okay, so Winnemucca, we're set there. Battle Mountain, back to our alternate. That looks like it's going to be okay to kind of use for planning purposes right now. KBAM, we can look at that really fast too. KBAM, just to get an idea here. Yeah, we got a 7,300 foot runway, and we have two of them essentially. This airport has fuel as well. Fallon Air Motive. You could call them, make sure they're going to be around, but it's an alternate. You may or may not need to. This alternate does have some instrument approach procedures, so again, that's a good thing. Like that, makes it a good option. So let's call Battle Mountain our alternate. So, okay, bam. And I'm taking a lot of time explaining this stuff, but in reality, it's going to be quick. Fill this out, blah blah blah. You're not going to need to take 20 minutes just doing what I'm doing, explaining all this stuff to you, because you're going to get quick at it. So before we go to Navlog, one last look here. So flight level 350, 366 knots true airspeed, leaving at 6 a.m. from Portland. We're going to have 2 hours and 30 minutes of fuel on board with 2 souls, with the Battle Mountain as our alternate here. And this is our route: Cascade 2 departure, Poly transition, Lakeview Ducks, and then Winnemucca. So Navlog. Okay, so here it spits it out. Kind of gives you your all your general information up here. This is the Zulu departure time, so 1300 Zulu. It's always going to give you Zulu. Estimated time en route, it's 1 hour and 20. So 1 hour and 20 minutes. Take off to touchdown. This is some. This stuff here is actually, yeah. This stuff here is stuff that you need some type of decoder to figure out. I actually don't know exactly what all of this stuff means. It wouldn't be too hard to determine that, but it has to do with the flight plan form. That's what these item numbers are, corresponding to. So I don't have that memorized right now, but that's what that refers to. So we got some information on here. Now I don't really use all this. I use ForeFlight once I'm in the airplane in terms of finding frequencies and stuff like that. This is on here in case, but I've just never used it, so I don't really pay attention to it. Anyway, so right below kind of your basic information here, showing fuel on board, souls on board, PIC, you have your routing here, which is what we put in. It kind of shows you some information. True course 144, FMS wins. This is kind of an average. If you had an FMS that wanted winds put in, that's what you'd put in. Your straight line is 351 miles. By going on our little scenic route around the MOAs, we'd now bring it up to 393 nautical miles, which is an extra 12%. So this kind of tells you in here at the different points along the route of flight, you're seeing different things, at 350, 330, 310, depending on your altitude. Now we filed 350, so that's what we're using. And this is showing the wind at those altitudes and at these points. So at the bottom of this, you're getting kind of an average of what you're going to see. So average 3-knot headwind, average 2-knot, average 1-knot headwind, and then no wind at all. And so you can kind of, as well as your times, in flight, your estimated time en route. So for example, here, what's the big picture information we can get? 3-knot headwind at 390, we got a 3-knot headwind. It's an hour and 24, and we're going to burn just under 1,200 pounds. Whereas 4,000 feet lower, a little less headwind, a little bit faster, and we're burning more fuel. So, you kind of look at these three lines here kind of give you the information that you can use to decide what altitude you want to be at. It might be that you're burning a little less fuel up at 390, but you're flying 4 minutes longer. And so if your airplane, is running off Hobbs time, if it's on some type of a maintenance program where, a tenth of an hour is going to cost a certain amount of money, you have to kind of figure out, okay, this extra 35 pounds that we save at 390, is that fuel savings actually going to save us anything when we add another 4 minutes onto the airplane? Yeah, probably not. So you kind of have to consider those things. If I were doing this flight, I'm probably going to fly here at 350 because 350. Well, for this, it really doesn't. It's not. They're all so close in terms of fuel burn and time en route. One other thing to look for here is ISA. It's hotter. ISA plus 11 at Chisholm, ISA plus 13 at Poly. Those are pretty high ISA numbers. Whereas down lower, it's only ISA plus 6 at Poly. So you're gonna have better performance the less plus ISA you've got. So and that's again, we're kind of splitting hairs with what we have in terms of fuel burn and time in the air and all that stuff. So but that's just this flight and these conditions. A lot of the time, different altitudes will make a massive difference, and so that's when this kind of becomes important. So kind of moving down here, again, you see information on inbound and outbound magnetic courses, fuel burn. This is just your typical flight planning log information here. It's not too difficult to figure out, and it's not generally stuff you're actually going to be focusing on too much for this kind of flight. If you start going oceanic, that's when your fuel burn at each point becomes a lot more important. But for now, we don't really need to look at this under a microscope. Down here, fuel hourly, this number here, I believe has to do with how you set up. Both these numbers have to do with how you set up flightplan.com under settings in terms of the way it's going to calculate fuel burn. I generally just use the more conservative number down here, minimum fuel required, because this is going to give you all the stuff you need, what you're going to be burning on your taxi, which my account thinks is 50 pounds of gas for taxi. The actual trip is 1183, and then to our alternate is 340 pounds. and then the extra 45 minutes after that, 6:23, and that's where we get this number here. So just go with the more conservative. You can go into your settings and change your aircraft performance and kind of mess with these, but I would just for now go with the more conservative option. And you can print this out. You can fill this stuff out on the bottom. It gives you block time, flight time, fuel use, all that kind of thing. Tells you sunrise, sunset. So it's a pretty useful page here. So anyway, that kind of explains this. Again, you have more information on your alternate, altitude that it's assuming you're using, time to get there. This shows you the elevation at I believe Winnemucca. So anyway, this is a good page to kind of understand. Click save. Uh-oh. Incorrect username. What in the heck? I wonder if I timed out. Try this again. Now this is that technical difficulty I was referring to earlier. Man, I don't know what is going on here. Oh, they did it 3 times. I see. Okay. So I'm just going to delete 2 of these here. I guess 4. Okay. So this is how it should show up here. So at this point, what I want to do is I would go down to multi-print out. Okay. And this lets you print out a number of things. You can kind of explore it. What I like is Navlog Mini and weather. You have one for oceanic stuff. You've got one with no wind. You've got, one that prints out a told card with it, all these different things. But this is generally I've been able to do just fine with just Navlog Mini and weather. So I'll click that. It should generate this page here. Now this is the same page we saw before. So, but in addition to that, we start scrolling down. It starts giving us a lot more information. Runway information at the airports. Weather in Portland, current time. Again, right now as I'm showing you this, it's Monday, June 19th at about 5:46 p.m. So this is showing it now. The scheduled departure time tomorrow at 1300 Zulu. It's going to be VFR, some light rain showers. No big deal. No NOTAMs were submitted. Now you get to the NOTAMs page. You guys all know how to read NOTAMs. You'd go through here and make sure, that everything is looking good. These runways being closed at PDX, those are common. They kind of close them off and on. I believe on Wednesdays to do things to them. But I don't see anything in here that really affects us. Now, if I was actually flying this, I'd pay a little more attention, but that looks fine. Nearby departure METARs, we don't care about that because we're leaving 12 hours from now. Arrival airport METARs, current time. So again, this is showing right now. Okay, it's pretty windy right there. It's clear, decently warm, Okay, this is what's important. Planned arrival time, 14:20, so an hour, 20-minute flight. So we got 0500 Zulu, and the next one we get 1700 Zulu. So this is the one we kind of are going to want to be looking at. Looks like it's variable at 6-mile visibility, sky clear. If we're a few hours later than this, it's likely the winds are going to be picking up to 270, 12, gusting 22. That's not too big of a deal. Again, we can go back to our Winnemucca chart here. Looks like winds are going to be out of the west, 270. So we might be you have to run some calculations to see if we could use 20, but no, it looks like it might even be more favorable just to assume runway 32, even with that crosswind out of runway 32. So but that's something to consider now. little red flag going off, because we're supposed to be arriving at 14:20, and we're leaving, and that's going to be about what, 7:20 a.m. We're planning to leave at noon, heading out of Winnemucca at noon back to Portland. So this 1700 Zulu, if my math is correct, that's 7 plus 3. That's 10 a.m. At 10 a.m. the wind's 27012, gusting 22. So that's right there. Hey, we need to run our run a crosswind calculation based off of runway 32, and kind of cross-reference that. Where is it? With our aircraft limitations, because we might have a crosswind limit, and depending on what we're flying, this might be kind of getting near there. So for the CJ, and I've not been current on the CJ for 6 months, so don't hold this against me, but I'm almost certain that the crosswind limitation on the CJ is in the low 20s. And this would only be a 270 for a 320 runway heading. We should be okay there, but just the point of this is, this might kind of, if you're leaving later that day, this kind of gives you an idea of, hey, that might be an issue. So that's something we'd want to tell the person we're flying, let them know, hey, we ran the numbers and the winds are going to be strong later in the afternoon. We may have to adjust this. You want to kind of give them a heads up, let them know in advance. Assuming your aircraft can't handle that, you want to let them know, hey, is there a way that, maybe we have to leave later in the day? Maybe, what do you want to do there? We might not be able to get out until the winds calm down. At that point, you could maybe look at, just whatever other options out there. Maybe there's another airport nearby that has a more favorable runway, headings, that it would be more into the wind. There's all these different things that you can kind of consider at that point. Anyway, point is, when we arrive there tomorrow, it's going to be fine. And in our airplane, even around noon, based off of this, we should be okay getting out of there. So no NOTAMs submitted recently. Doesn't look like any closures. So alternate minimums. Okay. So for the alternate airport, we should not need this for weather reasons, right? We should be totally in the clear. This alternate airport now just becomes important in case one of these, runways, some aircraft becomes stranded or whatever. And with 2 runways, it's, we should really be fine. But it's good to have this this alternate nearby anyways. Quick story, I was flying down to Mexico in a Challenger. There was I forget which airline it was, but there was an Airbus. I was flying on a Challenger down to Puerto Vallarta, and halfway there, an Airbus became stranded on the runway. I think its nose gear snapped or something in Puerto Vallarta, and so Puerto Vallarta only has 1 runway, so we had to divert to Cabo. But that was one of those real life examples of weather was VFR forever down in Puerto Vallarta. There was no reason for an alternate for weather reasons, but just some freak accident thing happened where the airplane was stranded on the runway, and now we couldn't go there. So always, even if the weather's fine, you want to make sure you have a viable plan B. Okay. Continuing down here, this is NOTAMs for the alternate airport. None of this should really be a problem for us. Again, here we go. Jet A, single point fuel not available. That's something that might be, something to consider. Again, this is our alternate. I'm not too worried. The CJ does have overwing fueling anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But this would affect us if we had to go in there, and let's say we wanted to do single point fueling. No, the CJ does not have single point fueling at all. Actually, I've recently switched to a different aircraft, so I'm getting all spun up in my head here. Anyway, so this is your navigation log. Lots of good stuff in here. I would recommend, you don't have to, a lot of people don't. I didn't for a while, but I do now, print this off and keep this. It would be smart, at least this first page. And even actually, honestly, the whole thing, it would be good to have for your records, either print it or just save the PDF. If something ever happens to you and the FAA investigates, they're going to start looking at everything. And so any situation like we have today where just looking at this wind, what it's forecasting, anything that might be close to the margin, you want to have a record of that so you can kind of show the FAA, hey, I know you're looking at this aspect here because it's close to our limitations, but here's information that I had, here's what it was showing, blah, blah, blah. So it's just smart to do. I would highly recommend that. So anyway, so this is that page here, and you can print it. It'll show up on the flightplan.com app. You can get to this easily. So I'm just going to, what I'll do is I'll print this right now. I'll print it and I'll upload it so that you have access to this. Sample. This will be in the extra course resources section. Okay. Exit. Okay. So we got that. Now what I'm going to do, let's see, go back to main menu here. So what we can do now is create another flight plan. Tomorrow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, KWMC, 2, KPDX, going back to Portland. Okay, so again, we'll kind of speed through this here. This is an hour 13 with no wind. 12 noon, fuel on board. Again, this is the placeholder here because we might adjust these fuel numbers here. Souls on board, alternate. We'll just do Hillsborough. There's lots of airports in the Portland area. There's McMinnville, Hillsborough, there's Troutdale, there's Aurora. There's lots up there that are good. I just kind of go with Hillsborough just to throw it in there. We go down here, and again, okay. Now, in terms of commonly planned routes between Winnemucca and Portland, we've got pretty much the same thing every time, is Jotba. It's the Hood 4 transition, or sorry, the Hood 4 arrival, Jotba transition. So let's just kind of check out what that is really quick. KPDX. Just want an idea. Hood 4 arrivals. Okay. Crane our heads, or I can make it easy. Okay, so Jotba. So we can assume we'd be heading northwest. We hit Jotba and fly this inbound here. And then the second page of that. It's a pretty, it's just your a classic RNAV arrival. No big deal. Some speed restrictions, altitude restrictions, all that. So that's likely what we'll get. So what we can do is we can copy that in there. Now, just to kind of get an idea, again, I want to look and see, do we need to get around anything? Do we need to get around any any MOAs? Yes. Jotba. Okay. So now, if we fly IFR out of Winnemucca straight to Jotba to begin that arrival, we're almost going to clear the MOAs. They might not be active. We might be, close enough to outside them. I don't know. But again, just to be safe here, I'm just going to do something easy. I'm just going to send us straight to this, MADS. See what that looks like so we can be sure that we are skipping, or that we are staying clear of the MOA. There. So that takes us to MADS, and then we go, well, here's an MOA, but you know what? The arrival starts within this MOA, so I'm pretty sure that won't be a problem. if it is, we could, in theory, we could, kind of zigzag around this thing, but I'm going to guess it won't be an issue. The hood arrival is used pretty often. What we could do if we wanted to is, if you wanted to be extra safe, maybe we could start at we could go straight to J.K. Knox. That might be an option too. But just for the, I just want to kind of show you, I'd feel pretty safe about filing this, and if ATC needs to change something, they will. I don't think it's going to affect us all that much. If anything, they'll just kind of have us take somewhat of a shortcut anyway, and cut through here. So I'm not too worried. So we'll go ahead and just write that in. We'll just do Mads Joppa hood, and navlog. See what that looks like. Okay, same information, hour 15 minutes. That's our route. 1900 Zulu, that's noon. Maybe about 1927, about 2000 to do it. So tailwinds. So here's a good example of when the winds might make a more significant difference. So we're planning for 360. 5 knot tailwind at 360, 13 knot tailwind at 340. This shaves off 2 minutes, and it's pretty much the same fuel burn. It's a very similar instance down here at 320. One thing I want to show, if there is a tiebreaker that needs to be done, you can go to Aviation Weather Center. There's aviationweather.gov, and go to turbulence, graphical turbulence guidance. We'd be a light aircraft because we're small. We can say, what did we figure out? What was our departure time? 1900 Zulu. Now this is close enough. This would kind of give you an idea. We pick our flight level, where you're going to get a smoother ride. So if we were trying to decide between 320 and 340, we could kind of go between altitudes and kind of looking around this area where our route of flight is, see if any one of them if higher up or lower down is better. Now, to me, it looks like lower down. It's not much, but it might, these kind of higher strength indications here. By the time we get to tomorrow, that might be something that becomes a bigger deal. In any case, this is far enough away that the weather's going to change a lot between now and then, and so we can always adjust this later. But for now, we'll just switch to 340. So I'll save it, and I'm going to adjust the Winnemucca to Portland to flight level 340. That's the best we're going to see right now. So now that's updated. Now here's what's important. We'll go back and you want to look at the nav log again for Winnemucca to Portland and kind of check this out. But this is stuff that we can adjust tomorrow while we're hanging out at the FBO Winnemucca. We can fine tune stuff. The weather is going to be different. I mean, all the forecasts will be updated. Right now the forecast for Portland doesn't even excuse me. It's showing at 1600 Zulu, which is about 4 hours before we arrive. It's showing, light rain showers, good visibility, scattered 3,000, broken 5,000. It's no big deal. But again, as we did before, you'd want to kind of go through this whole page and make sure everything looks good. There are NOTAMs that will get you from time to time, so you want to see those in advance. Embarrassing when ATC comes on and says, "Did you read the NOTAMs?" When you're trying to land at an airport that's the NOTAM closed. Okay, so exit from that. Now here's what I want to do. This is kind of a major point of this. When you have an assignment like this, when you have like a mission where you're going out and back, it can be, you want to look at fuel prices, because it can make a big difference in terms of what you're being charged. In this situation, do we want to top off fuel at Atlantic and Portland and carry it, tanker it to Winnemucca, and then just head back, or do we want to plan to get a bunch of fuel in Winnemucca? And so here's where you want to check out different. You want to see if what type of deals you could get at Atlantic, what type of deals you can get at the FBO in Winnemucca. Well, let's see here. Let's see. Okay, so Portland. So we go to the bottom here. We got Atlantic FBO. Okay, so here, Jet A is $7.28 at Atlantic in Portland, whereas Winnemucca, it's showing $5.99. I'm not too familiar if I don't know if what kind of taxes Nevada has, but in any case, we'll just say there are no taxes. So in Portland, Jet A is $7.28. In Winnemucca, it's about $6. So it's $1.28 difference. We're gonna be burning. Go back to our let's just look at both of them here really quick. Okay, so what we're going to be burning here, so we're going to be burning about 1,400 on the way there, burning about 1,300 on the way home. So that's 2,700 pounds of gas, and we divide by 6.7. That's about 400 gallons. So 400 gallons. So 400 times the difference, which is 1.28. So here's what we're left with. So we got, let me just show you what I did here so you're not wondering. Okay, PDX gas is $1.28. Winnemucca gas is $6. Total burn in pounds is 2,700. In gallons, it's about 400. And so what we do is we take the difference. Is $1.28 more expensive. Portland. So we just do 400 gallons times $1.28, and that gives us roughly $512. So if we in this case, if we were to tanker in Portland, it's going to be $512 more than leaving Portland with as little fuel as possible and picking up in Winnemucca, picking up gas in Winnemucca. Now this is kind of obvious, but in certain situations, I just wanted to show you the math, because in certain situations, let's say let's say we were doing this flight in the reverse order. What if it was Winnemucca to Portland and back? In that situation, we might want to fill up, get as much gas as we can in Winnemucca, because it's cheaper to make our Portland gas bill less expensive. And then, of course, you have to consider the fact that you might have, depending on the FBO and your kind of arrangement with them and a number of other things, it might be that you can get a special deal at the FBO if you buy a certain amount of gas from there. one of the places I was working, when we'd fly to one of the Atlantic FBOs, if we bought, I believe it was 126 gallons of gas, it waived the facility fee, which was, I forget how many hundreds of dollars, but that was something that I always had to consider because if you're gonna have to pay one or the other. You're either gonna pay more, a little bit more expensive gas, and then you get gas out of it, or you're gonna have to pay a fee and you get nothing out of it. So you might as well get something out of it. So that's kind of where this comes into play here. Now, one thing we could consider is maybe, what's coming after we land in Portland. After we get back to Portland after this Winnemucca thing, what's next then? Because if the boss, the passengers are thinking they're going to go somewhere else, then that's where you want to go. Okay, well, maybe we should just, depending, based off of weight and conditions and all that, we got to take off safely and legally, but maybe we want to get as much of this cheaper gas as we can in Winnemucca for the next flight. And so we'll fill up in Winnemucca, land in Portland, and then maybe 2 days from now, they're like, hey, just kind of like we had sort of talked about, we want to go fly to, Spokane or wherever they want to go. And now you already got a ton of gas on board, cheaper gas. So that's just something to consider in your, when you're figuring all this stuff out. So long story short, for this particular thing, I would go with the minimum amount of gas as possible out of Portland. And then, I'd probably just take whatever gas I needed to get back to Portland, because the risk you run with tankering cheap gas for some supposed flight down the road is, what if, 2 days from now, the boss wants to go to Spokane, but he wants to fill the airplane with people. And if you land and you've got too much gas on board, and you have to tell him, well, the good news is we got $6 a gallon jet gas in Winnemucca. The bad news is we got so much of it that, we can't take everybody. So you really kind of have to be careful there when you're doing that. So I do want to note one thing really quick here that I misspoke earlier. These are your fuel burns. You have the fuel burn here, and then your fuel hourly method. That's what I meant when I was talking about taking the more conservative number. I go with fuel hourly, which this can be adjusted based off of your aircraft, performance settings. That's why, this 1417 is different than this 1233. Minimum fuel required takes into account all this extra, the taxi, the trip, the alternate 45 minutes, all that stuff. So I misspoke earlier. Sorry to confuse you. This is just, going to be a different number from this because of some different performance things. But I would always, once you get a feel for your airplane, once you kind of figure out its tendencies and kind of monitor the trends, so to speak, monitor the fuel burns, you can go in and kind of tinker with the aircraft performance that's loaded up in flightplan.com. And then that can affect, your fuel burn numbers here. But just for now, I just go with the more conservative one. I mean, 200 pounds of gas is, sometimes you might be kind of close in terms of, hey, if we go with this number, we can make it. If we go with this number, we can't. But again, that's kind of getting more technical into flightplan.com in terms of, how to kind of change those numbers up. So let's see, where are we now? And all right, so we got all our flight plan stuff figured out. We're just going to we decided we're just going to take the minimum amount of fuel we need, and so what we'll do now is we will go to let's see, tools, weight and balance. So really quick, let me pull these multi printouts. I meant to save a multi printout to include in the course from here. So I'll do that really quick before I forget. And so really quick, our fuel burn on the way home, we're gonna call it 13. 1323. And then on the way to Winnemucca, we're going to call it 1417. Okay. So now we can go to settings or tools, weight and balance. And again, I think they have this instructional video right here, actually tutorials on how to set up your aircraft weight and balance. But once it's set up, you'll go here. You don't have to put flight description in. This kind of tells you your basic empty weight, 6,400, and your CG 252. This was just a generic aircraft. You can adjust all this stuff for your particular airplane, and it'll give you the proper numbers in that situation. But in here, you can put in the different weights, captain, co-pilot, different seats. These seats, like seat 1, you can see down here. This is kind of confusing. I hate the way they do this. But seat 1 here is actually seat 3 on the picture. So 3, this is seat 1. When you put in 200 pounds for seat 1, this seat 3 is where that weight is actually, going to be placed. It's confusing. You can change this stuff too, so it's kind of easier to work with here. But anyway, I put 200 pounds for me in my little flight bag. Passenger, we'll call him 200 pounds, sitting in seat 4, which is actually this position here, back right of the airplane, the cabin. Baggage compartment 1 is 9, which is the nose compartment. On these CJs, this is just a quirk. If we had nothing in there and we ran these numbers, we're way far aft. So we have to have some kind of weight in the nose. So sometimes we'll even carry ballast. And actually, there are some manuals and stuff up there that we keep. So that usually helps clean the supplies on it. So 100 pounds up in the nose, 200 pounds for the passenger. And fuel tank, what did we decide that we were going to bring? Shoot, I should have left that up. Let me do this really quick. Multi-printout, navlog, mini. So on our first leg, the fuel that we need to have on the aircraft when we shut the door, we'll call it 2,200 pounds. So 2,200 pounds, and our burn was 1417, 1417. Taxi fuel is 50. And here we have, max takeoff weight 10.4. Other weights here. So click calculate. Okay. Now you see our image of the envelope here. We are well within the envelope. It shows you your different weights for different phases. We're going to be 9,100 pounds ramp weight. So when we close the door, that's about what we weigh. Gives you your limits. Takeoff, we've burned 50 pounds of gas to taxi, and now we're at 9050. Landing 7633. Zero fuel, 6,900. So we're good there. So this kind of gives you, kind of a visual of what's happening. Your CG is moving slowly, barely moving forward throughout the flight, but just a little bit. Yeah, this is kind of your weight and balance page for the flight. I'll download that so we have it. And then if we were to, just so you have it for the way home as well, we'll call it 2,000 pounds. I'd throw in 2,000 pounds of gas. A little bit less gas now because I think some more favorable winds. That's why we don't need as much. And the burn is 1323. And so now this, reflects that. I'll download this so you have it. You can download it and see for yourself. So let's see if there's anything else I need to mention here. we've got the flight plans. We got them set up. We did weight and balance. That looks good. We checked the weather. I guess I'll go through that really quick, just to kind of show you aviation weather. When you come here, this is a great one to bookmark. You probably already have it, but and I just kind of flow. I have just kind of a certain flow I like to do. There's no real writer. Make sure this is 100%. Sorry. There's no right or wrong way to do this really. This is just kind of what I like to do. My flow that I found. So I just go to forecast. I go to prog charts. I just go to the surface plot. Let's see. We have it for tomorrow, Tuesday. What did we decide? It was 1700 Zulu when we depart. So 1800 is close enough. This just gives me just a big picture of what's going on. This is valid again 2 hours after the flight leaves. The next closest one was 4 hours before it. So you can kind of alternate between them just to get an idea of what's happening, where things are moving, how they're developing. Good chance of likely rain. Here's your key down here. Rain is likely out of the Portland area, and then we're flying down here. It's going to be pretty much clear. And then we could see, okay, maybe later on in the day, we're leaving. I think it was 19. What did we decide it was for? Shoot, all my times are mixed up here. And you'll find yourself doing this a lot. You'll find yourself trying to remember Zulu times, local times, and all that. So it's smart to just maybe keep this up in the background. So yeah, I misspoke. 1300 Zulu is when we're departing Portland, and then we're departing Winnemucca at 1900 Zulu. So 1300 Zulu on here. So for 1 hour before that, here's what it's showing. And then right before we leave from Winnemucca, we're leaving at 1900 Zulu. This is showing 1800 Zulu, which is as close as we can really get. This is what's happening. So this is essentially the progression we're looking at in terms of big picture weather. It's starting out here, and then as the day goes on up north, we're going to have some chances for thunderstorms. So that's just kind of, I just checked that out real quick. You saw the turbulence graphic. I don't need to show you that again. Icing, I'll check that out really quick. Let's see, 15 hour. Okay. Again, you can kind of do the same thing here, alternating between an hour before to 2 hours after departure time, 2 hours before to an hour after departure time. Some moderate icing. And what you can do here is, this shows you the max, and then you can kind of change altitudes. You can kind of figure out, okay, trace icing starts to show up around 5,000 feet in our climb. 7,000 feet. Okay, now we're more light to moderate. Okay, changing as you climb, and it just kind of gives you an idea of the conditions as you climb until you're pretty sure you're going to be out of everything by about 15,000 feet. And this is, first of all, it's a forecast for a while away, but even if we just did right now, this is kind of what it's looking like right now. I think it's more of a probability thing. It doesn't know exactly where it's at, except for where you have pi reps. There's a pi rep. Other than that, it's just kind of guessing. So it could be accurate, it could be less than accurate, but it just kind of gives you something to work with in terms of icing. Winds and temps. I actually, you can use this. This works fine. I'm used to just going to this guy here, and then I just bring it up to like cruise altitude, just to get an idea of what's happening. So tomorrow at 1300 Zulu, we're flying from here roughly to here, and there's not much wind going on at where we're going to be at all until we start our descent down into Winnemucca. But that just kind of gives you an idea of what's happening. You also have the aviation forecast page, which is kind of cool. I really like this when you need to get kind of specific about things. We can go look at Northwest, Portland area, surface plot, or clouds. this was really great during my flight instructing days when I was trying to forecast what the weather was going to be like for VFR stuff. It kind of tells you the bases and tops of things, and this is a great little tool when you need kind of more specific, when you're, I guess, close to the margins type stuff. Or if you want to see clouds as a surface forecast as well as clouds, just to give you an idea. So that's really cool. And that's pretty much, I'm kind of a graphic guy, so those are the ones that I'll look at. I'll just quickly, I'll look through all of them in a matter of about 30 seconds total, just to give myself an idea of what's going on. And if there is going to be any icing, I might just jot that down, on my printed out flight plan or whatever. I'll just say, hey, there was forecast icing, starting from 5,000 feet all the way up to, 17,000 feet, just a little reminder to myself of, hey, these are kind of where I saw icing was going to exist. If there's an issue, climb above 17 or descend below 5. It just to have that information there in case something goes wrong, you're not scrambling for it. You just have a quick kind of at a glance thing. So that's kind of my process there. Okay, yeah, so that's about, let's see, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I can recommend in terms of flight planning. This is just to kind of reiterate, this is what I use for a number of years, flying different sized different sized jets and twin Cessnas and stuff. Your company might have you doing certain things a certain way. 4 flights could be becoming really popular, and that's all great stuff too. But this is just kind of, one way that you can do all your flight planning and weight and balance and all that. And this is all free, by the way. You can set this up to file your flight plans, where you're it'll submit it. You fill it out and you file it. You check the box and then click submit, and it will file it for you. So you can call up ATC and like to open up a flight plan to Winnemucca or whatever. I don't think there's really much else that I can say for now. Kind of gone over it all. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, OregonFlightSchool.com, and let me know. There's a number of courses that are available. Some of them are free. Some of them I charge just a little bit. Got a couple books out there. Just kind of check it out. The information here, this isn't flight instruction. This is a little disclaimer. I am a flight instructor. I'm a CFI. I'm not a CFII. And this isn't ground instruction. This isn't any type of, legit loggable instruction. This is just, informational stuff here. So, if you see anything that, you have questions about, or if you see something that I said that might not be correct, let me know so I can give it a second look here. This was, my courses are very scripted. If you go through any of those, you'll notice the way that I talk is different. It's a lot more, pretty much reading off of stuff I've written. But this, I felt the best way to do this was just to record the screen as I go through it. And so I apologize for the little screw ups here and the delays. That's just what ends up happening when you're less scripted. But this also gave me the freedom to really kind of jump around and show things as they came to my mind. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me. And hopefully I'll be back soon with some more.